gorgeous people. So I thought I would do this. So I've got some things that I need to do. It's weird when you're backwards in thingies. I've got some stuff I need to do oils wise, so I thought I'd do it as a live stream, as a sort of body doubling thing. So yeah, I've got quite a lot of essential oils, and I do quite a lot of things for my partner's back. They've slipped a disc recently, and for my scoliosis, which you can see I'm very wonky. This is my scoliosis. Oh, it is so weird being back to front. And for my daughter's mental health and various other things. So I thought I would do a little sorting out my oils live, why not, and talk about why I love essential oils. So it's something I've touched on before, because but I have sensory issues when it comes to smell and perfume. So if I walk past somebody and they're wearing really strong body spray or perfume or anything like that, it causes me quite a lot of discomfort and sometimes quite a visceral reaction. It's like an autistic thing. So I've never really worn perfumes. The most I got to was sort of Body Shop. Some of their things were okay. I use natural deodorants. Can't use any of the spray things. They really make me hurt. If you're autistic and have similar sensory issues for whatever reason, you'll understand what I mean. So luckily I found a really good essential oils company that I now business partner with, and I use them in my spiritual work and obviously for a lot of physical things. And I've got my little essential oil Bible. That's the second one I bought. I should show you the first one, because when I got this I was just like, oh my goodness. So this is the same guy, and this is, look at that. Isn't that just fantastic? I've used it so much that it's fallen to pieces. So this is my essential oil Bible. But I couldn't live without them now. I use certain things on my back every morning to warm me up, so I can move well. Actually, I should probably put some on now. And luckily, the company I work with also do a lot of supplements, so I switched over to them for my vitamins and minerals, because I know that sometimes my gut health is not that great, especially if I get into sensory issues with food and there's only certain things I can eat, then I need to supplement that I'm getting the right nutrients and stuff like that. So I just thought I would pop on and tell you why I love essential oils. So I've been learning recently about how our fight-flight response works, and I know that it's not quite as, it's not a stunningly simple thing, full stop, but I know that it's definitely a bit more complicated now. We live in this crazy world where we get bombarded with quite a lot of information and stress and stuff like that. So I thought I would do a little thing, if I can find it, a little thing about how the brain works so people could understand, because I like things to be super simple so that I can understand them. So there's various different ways you can look at the brain, and one of the ones I like is we have the sort of limbic system, which is the sort of keep you safe system in the brain. So this is one of the first things that developed, and this is related to essential oils, just so you know. So you've got your amygdala, which is your internal lookout. So people very much liken that to a meerkat, when they're popping up, looking out, checking what's going on, looking for danger, trying to keep yourself safe. So, meerkats are up and they're looking around and they're checking out. And if they see something dangerous, they actually bark like a dog. It's not quite as loud as a dog, but they signal all the other animals in the area that there's something going on. And in that moment, it's not safe. And then we've got something very closely linked to that, which is the, I can never remember what it's called, that one. So there's a bit of your brain that then, like your caveman bit of your brain, which when it hears that danger, that's the bit that does. So your little chimp runs off. If it, well, it fights, flights, or freezes. Those were the original ones that people talked about, but they've added in more now because we're living in a slightly different world. So it's not just the danger of the saber-toothed tiger or something like that. We've got other things that we perceive as dangerous. So your chimp goes off in its frenzy, whether it's fight, flight, freeze. There's now like flop, fawn. I can't remember if there was another one. So you're either going to fight it, yell at people, do that sort of thing. Freeze as in literally just shut down. Flood is more of a like an emotional dysregulation, sort of PTSD, sort of like you're really flooded with emotion, now you've gone totally numb. There's what's the other, fawn, so people pleasing, trying to get out of the tricky situation by people pleasing, and I can't remember the other one. So you've got that going on, and then you've got that bit of you that's the sort of what we think of as the bit of us, like the prefrontal cortex, the problem-solving sort of critical thinking bit of us. And when it hears that's going on, it just flies off. So you sort of lose your ability to really think in a rational way because your meerkat has sort of hijacked you. And then you've got the elephant hippocampus sort of memory store bit of you that doesn't really forget anything, that's learned everything, has sort of experienced everything all the way back to you being in the womb. And there's memory and emotions and stuff attached to that. So that's the bit of you that's like, you smell a cup of coffee and it takes you back to childhood, or you smell bread and you remember being at your grandma's when she was baking bread. So that's especially linked to smell. So that's how some people don't like the smell of lavender, for example, when it comes to essential oils. They don't like the smell of lavender because it takes them back to childhood and granny who always had it on a handkerchief, and that wasn't a very positive experience. And quite often those can be difficult memories. They can be positive memories. They can be really useful. But again, that doesn't forget. And so when the chimp has heard the alarm from the meerkat, it scans what's happened, and the elephant gives it all this information, and it's a whole load of information. And this happens in like a split second. And the elephant throws everything at that chimp, and that's how you then get the reaction. Am I going to fight? Am I going to fly? Am I going to freeze? Am I going to fawn? Am I going to flop? Am I going to get flooded with emotions? And that all happens really super quickly. And you don't really get the chance for that owl to actually take control. Like your primal brain that's been around for so much longer takes control, and that owl rational part flies off. And it can take a good long time, like 20 minutes, for all that to calm down. So it's all automatic, so it's all under the control of your autonomic nervous system. And it takes like 20 minutes for that all to calm down. So things that can help with that are learning to like breathe deeply, preferably when you're in a safe space, and then to communicate if you can start learning those feelings when your heart rate increases, or you know that quite often you start people pleasing when you sort of don't want to, you can start learning to pick up on those things, knowing when you've been, like they call it, being hijacked by your chimp that's done a runner, and you can start trying to manage those things a lot easier. So deep breathing is really useful, and this is where I love essential oils, because if you use essential oils, you're going to be breathing deeply anyway, because the best way to actually experience them is to sort of just grab a bottle, take the lid off, and smell them, and you automatically get that deep breathing. But the great thing about these is knowing that that can happen, realizing, are you more of a fight person or a flight person or a freeze person or a friend and fawn person or just to flop. You can try and manage those things to learn how to do the deep breathing, to have your essential oils with you and start anchoring in things. So, for example, I know that if I have somebody yell at me, it automatically takes me back to being at school. I hated the teachers yelling. You know, in those situations where somebody in the class has done something wrong, nobody knows who it is, and the teacher has a massive go at everybody in the class, like you've all done something wrong because that person won't own up. And I always used to take all of that on, like it was a real big trauma thing for me. I hate that sort of thing. So for me, if somebody yells near me, not even at me, I can be transported back to that little me who was at school and didn't like being yelled at. So I now know if I'm in a situation where I don't know who's around, because nobody in my family yells at me or particularly yells at all, I know if I'm out and about and that's that sort of thing going on, I know to have stuff with me and to try and be calm and know that those things might happen and to set that up. And I can create a calming blend of oils, for example, and I could be putting that on as a perfume. So knowing that if something like that does happen, hopefully my meerkat will go, oh, danger, and my chimp will go, oh, what do I do? And I can have in place that I know that I can calm down quicker because I know I've been hijacked, because deep breathing can turn that 20 minutes of your autonomic nervous system to calm down into more like 10 minutes, but I can have an awareness around that. So that's why I really love essential oils, because your meerkat that's in your amygdala, your internal lookout, the sense of smell is the only sense that has a direct connection to that part of your brain. So the olfactory bulbs in your nose have an automatic quick response straight up to your brain, so they can calm that sort of chimp running off bit that's going, oh my God, we're under attack, what do I do, fight, flight, form, that kicks off your autonomic nervous system to do that reaction. You can really impact that quite quickly with essential oils, which is fantastic. So don't get me wrong, the chimp doing its reaction is really good. You know, caveman days, if you saw a saber-toothed tiger, you don't want to sit there going, oh, I'm just going to smell my essential oils and see if the tiger's all right. That's not a good thing. You want to either leg it or go somewhere safe or know that everything's going to be okay. You want those split second reactions. That's how sometimes people can do stuff like a car comes at them and they jump out of the way and they're like, I don't even know how I did that. You want those automatic reactions. But we're bombarded now so often with stuff that's stressful or puts us on high alert, and the meerkat's just wanting to keep us safe, and that's really cool. But we've got a lot of things bombarding us where our nervous system doesn't know that we are safe and reacts in a way that's not particularly helpful. So I just thought I'd share, and I've just found it. Look, there's 7 Fs. I think there's only 6, but so it's fight, flight, flood, fawn, freeze, fatigue, flop. So flop is your sort of total burnout. Oh my God, totally overwhelmed. Very common in people with like complex PTSD. And as I say, anxiety and that sort of stress response is a natural human response. It's useful to have that, but it's not useful when you're being bombarded with things that make you stressed and feel anxious all the time. And that parasympathetic nervous system doesn't ever get a chance to like calm down properly and reset before stuff's all going on again. So I just thought I'd share that because obviously I use oils and I'm very aware that I quite often, especially if I quite often have the like flight sort of shutting down thing and then being massively overwhelmed, especially if I've got sensory issues going on as well. And then suddenly something happens, I get totally flooded by stuff. I also know that I do that sort of burnout thing sometimes when I'm like really, really can't cope with stuff. So I need to be aware of that when I'm out and about as an autistic person, that I can get more overwhelmed by things that maybe I'm only just learning about because I'm only recently diagnosed. So if I can find a quick way to firstly know that there is always a meerkat on the lookout for what's going on, and that my chimp, my primal human bit, is going to react really quickly when there's a perceived danger. Firstly, I know that I can be prepared for that. And I know that breathing helps, and I know that oils help. And for me, I know that moving around helps, like getting my lymphatic system moving. Sometimes, like stimming for me is really helpful. Like I always sort of carry things with me that I can stim with. And if I don't have them, then just find yourself stones. Stones are amazing when it comes to like needing a bit of like stress relief and stuff. I know we have all these stress relief balls and stuff, but if you're out and about and you've forgotten, go and get a stone, because just the coldness and the sort of being in your hand and stuff is really useful. And for me, I do things where I try and get out of my brain so that I'm not like caught up there. So even if my heart rate's going and stuff, I do have pictures in the stone thing. You can't see that very well, but you can just look at a stone and find some pictures or find a face or find something and start sort of saying what could that be telling me. The other nice thing is you can feel it and you can just feel, oh, that's really nice. That could be like a hill that somebody's walking up, and then imagine yourself doing that and you're getting out of your brain, and hopefully those things will calm you down. But I just thought I'm going to do a blog post about the that meerkat, and the meerkat being the internal account and the chimp being like your evolutionary in the past brain that does a runner. And then obviously you've got your elephant, which is your memory store that doesn't forget things. And that's the bit that you sort of want to train when you're more calm, that those things, you can say to yourself, right, as a child, this happened, but I'm now an adult and I can cope with those things. So if somebody yells at me as an adult, I'm not in like a teacher pupil relationship. I don't need to be that. I can leave if there's stuff like that going on. I can leave. When you're a student or in certain places, you can't just up and go, I don't have to deal with this. But I can tell myself, oh, I don't need to react in that way, and I can reprogram my elephant to like take some of those things. I think it was Daniel Sloss in one of his shows was saying that he goes up to check what memories he's got about things, and then it's like the elephant's going, this memory, I think he calls it a butler or something, but it's the elephant going, you've got this memory about that, and it's like, I don't want that memory. That memory's racist, or that memory's this, or that memory's that. Not helpful. It's well worth going to watch. And that's the thing. You're competing with this sort of elephant who's got these memories, but you can have discussions with that and go, do you know what? I don't feel like that anymore. If someone yells near me, I'm an adult, I can leave. If somebody's yelling at me and I'm not enjoying it, I'm an adult and I can leave, or I can calm down the situation. It doesn't need to be like a stress response thing. So yes, I just thought I'd share some of that because I found it really interesting learning about that and trying to put it all together. And I love the fact that we've got animals that can be an analogy for certain parts of the brain. I think it's a much easier thing to understand. So I've taken that from a couple of people who try and explain to kids what the brain is and stuff. And I've sort of melded it together because there was certain things from one thing and other things that I sort of put it together because I didn't like the separate ones. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Let me know if you'd like any further information, but I said I might do a blog post about it. I think I might put a little training course together about it from the point of view of how the oils work and stuff like that. So if you'd like any of that information, just let me know. And whatever you do, you're amazing, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.